Hello. So for today, we will be discussing about Laplace transform. So this is a topic on differential equations as well as in advanced engineering mathematics, no? Na gamit especially in electronics and electrical engineering. But for this lesson, our approach for the Laplace transform will just be purely for differential equations. Okay? So, what is Laplace transform? So, here we have this is an integral, no, as defined. No, this is an integral that converts a function of a real variable, no, or time domain, no. So, let me just erase this one. So, from again, from the real variable or the time domain, so say we have here a function f of t. Okay, so into a function of complex frequency domain, no? So or complex variable. So say we have from f of t, this will become f of s for a while. And so this is what Laplace transform does, no? So from another variable in the real domain, no? So yun yung alam natin na let's say x or something like that. I-convert niya from that variable into a complex variable, no? So yung ating s dito, so this is equivalent to sigma plus j omega. Okay, so that is our complex this is our complex variable, no? So you will learn more about this complex variable in your advanced engineering mathematics, but for now, no, so let's just settle on the definition of s as another variable in the complex domain, no? So ayan, so that's what Laplace transform do, no? So this is the definition and the formula, no? So if we have here f of t, yung katulad ng ginawa ko kanina, so it will transform to f of s, and this is the notation, no? By the way, Laplace transform, no? We are writing it as parang operator, no? Something like this. Ayan. Mas parang letter L. Okay, so you put the letter L on the whole equation, then that signifies na you will perform Laplace transform. Okay, this is the formula. This sabi nga, this is an integral. So this is our formula. Ayan. So this is the integral of f of t, the original function, multiplied to e raised to negative st dt. Okay, evaluated from 0 to infinity. Our e raised to negative st, so this is what we call the kernel of the transform. Ayan, so tandaan niyo, no? So that's what we call the kernel of the transform. Yan yung parang yan yung nagta-transform mismo nung ating f of t into the f of s. Okay? So kaya meron kang naka-raise na s. So in order to solve Laplace transforms, no? So we should be knowledgeable in evaluating improper integrals because of the infinity limit, no? So yung infinity limit ng ating integral. Okay? So game, let us try to solve. So we have here, no, find the Laplace transform of f of t is equal to 1. Okay, so sabi nga natin, so f of t, sulat ko lang dito, no, is equivalent to 1. So we are asked to find to get the Laplace transform. Okay, so hindi pala kita. Usog ko lang. Wait lang. Usog natin, no? Wait lang. Ayan. So we have here our f of t. This is equivalent to 1. So let's get the Laplace transform. Okay? So from f of t, it will become f of s. and let us use the formula, no? So we have here the integral from 0 to infinity of our function 1 multiplied to e raised to negative st dt. Okay, so since 1 yung numerical coefficient ng ating kernel, no? So this is just simply the integral, okay? The integral from 0 to infinity ng e raised to negative st dt. Okay, and we all know this is an exponential function. So we will try to transform the integral or rewrite or redefine the integral from this form to e raised to u du. Okay, kasi di ba we know that the integral of e raised to u du, okay, du is equivalent to eu plus c or e raised to u plus c. Okay, so what is our u in this case? Of course, our negative st. So we have u is equal to negative st. We will perform u substitution in this case. So we have du. So this is equivalent to negative s dt. So since we only have dt in this case, so let's divide both sides by negative s. Okay, so therefore dt is equivalent to negative 1 over s du. Okay, so yan yung ipapalit natin sa ating integral. So we have here the integral from 0 to infinity of negative 1 over s. Okay, e raised to u, papalitan na natin yung negative st ng u du. Okay, so since we are evaluating in u, yung negative 1 over s will be constant. So lalabas lang siya. Okay, so we have here negative 1 over s multiplied to the integral of e raised to u du. Ito na yon, no? Yung nilagay natin dito kanina. So we have e raised to u which is equivalent to negative st. Diba? Binaksab ko na. Okay, so we will evaluate from 0 to infinity. Saan natin isa-substitute si 0 at saka si infinity? Of course, kay t. Diba? Kasi remember, ang ating original integral is in dt. Okay? Kaya kay t tayo magsasubstitute. So, let's substitute, no? So, again, that is reviewing our Calculus 2 lesson. So, that is upper boundary minus lower boundary. No? So, we have here negative 1 over s multiplied to e raised to negative s times infinity. Okay? Minus e raised to negative s times 0. Okay? So, this is our evaluated integral. So, e raised to negative s times infinity. So, this is just equivalent to negative infinity. And we all know that any number, okay, any number raised to negative infinity is equivalent to 0. Okay, and any number raised to infinity is equivalent to infinity. Okay, so except for of course 1 and 1 and 0. Okay, so yung dalawang yon indeterminate forms yon. No, so but generally, no, it will go to infinity. Okay? So since this is negative, no, negative infinity, so this is just equivalent to 0. And this one, e raised to negative s times 0, that is equivalent to e raised to 0, or simply 1. Now, so therefore, we have here, rewriting, we have here f of s is equivalent to negative 1 over s multiplied to 0 minus 1. Okay, 0 minus 1 is just negative 1. Negative 1 times negative 1 is positive. No? So, we will just cancel out the negative sign. No? So, ito 0, wala na yan. No? So, therefore, our Laplace transform of f of t is equal to 1 is equal to 1 over s. Ayan. Okay? So, I hope malinaw, no? Malinaw yung ating derivation, no? For the Laplace transform of f of t is equal to 1. Next. So, we have here, now we are asked to find for the Laplace transform of f of t is equal to t. No? So, game. So, let's find the Laplace transform of f of t is equal to t. So, this will be f of s. Okay, is equivalent to the integral from 0 to infinity of t e raised to negative st dt. So, since we have two functions of t, no? So, ano yung two functions natin of t? That is t and e raised to negative st. So, we will proceed with integration by parts. So, using IBP, we will be able to evaluate the integral. And we will be using the quicker method of IBP, that is the DI method or the tabular method. So this just with alternating signs. Ayan. Okay, so game. No, ano ang ilalagay natin kay D at ano ilalagay natin kay I? Since we have an exponential function here, in this case, in the form of e raised to negative st, yun yung ilalagay natin sa I. No, so we have here e raised to negative st. Okay? Tapos let's put t in D. No. So the D, yung din natin dito means differentiate, so we're going to get the derivative. Okay, yung I naman is integrate, no? Repeated lang, no, kung ilan rows yung meron tayo dito, or hanggang mag 0, no, since we are targeting case number 1 in IBP. No, so we have here the derivative of t in respect to t is 1, the derivative of 1 in respect to t is 0. So nag-0 na yung derivative natin, so let's stop here. So we have here the integral of e raised to negative st. Diba nakuha na natin siya? That is negative 1 over s e raised to negative st. Ayan. So let's get the another, let's integrate once more. No, so since we have here, no, negative 1 over s e raised to negative st, if we're going to integrate this, no, with respect to dt, of course lalabas si negative s, negative 1 over s rather, then we're going to integrate e raised to negative st dt. And alam natin ang integral nun is negative 1 over s e raised to negative st. So meaning the integral of this is magka-cancel to, tapos pag multiplyin mo lang yung 1 over s. Diba? So we will have 1 over s squared e raised to negative st. Ayan. Okay? So stop na tayo dyan since nag-0 naman na yung katapat niya. So again, no, pa-diagonal ang ating multiplication. Then, of course, mag-a-apply yung sign. Diba? So therefore, the integral is equivalent to, okay, so we have t times negative 1 over s e raised to negative st. So that's negative 1 over s t e raised to negative st. Okay? Then plus, or rather minus, kasi negative 1 times negative 1 over s squared e raised to negative st. So that is minus 1 over s squared e raised to negative st evaluated from 0 to infinity. Okay, so since tapos na yung ating integral using using the integration by parts, no, yung shortcut natin for integration by parts. So remember kanina, 'di ba, if yung ating kernel e raised to negative st, kapag ka sinubstitute natin yung t with infinity, no, since that's our upper boundary, 'di ba, this will just yield to 0. Tama. So lahat, meaning pwede nating sabihin na lahat na may e raised to negative st na terms will just be 0, no, upon substituting our upper boundary. So we will have 0 minus, yun yung ating substituted value for ang tawag dito, for infinity. Then we have here 0 naman. Papalit natin siya sa lahat ng t. So we have negative 1 over s times 0. Okay, e raised to negative s times 0. Okay, minus 1 over s squared e raised to negative s times 0. Okay? So again, saan po napunta yung infinity natin dito? Sinimplify na lang natin since we have e raised to negative st, no? Kapag t is equivalent to infinity, that will yield to e raised to negative infinity, which is equivalent to 0. Kaya 0 na tong nandito sa unahan. Okay, then minus yung lower naman, which is, ito na yung sinubstitute natin na 0. Okay, so we have your 0 multiplied to a quantity, which is actually equivalent to just 0. Alam naman natin yun. Any number multiplied to 0 is 0. Tama? Then we have your e raised to negative s times 0. Negative s times 0 is 0. So e raised to 0 is just 1. Tama? So, ano na iwan natin dito? So we have here, f of s is equivalent to negative 1 over s squared times 1, or simply negative 1 over s squared. So, cancel. This will yield to our f of s is equivalent to 1 over s squared. And this is the Laplace transform of our f of t is equal to. Okay? So, I hope malinaw yon, ha? Ayan. Sige, so let's have another example. So t cube naman, no? T cube yung pinapahanap sa atin. So we have here, no? So lagay lang natin. Ayan. So, let's get the Laplace transform. Okay, so we have your f of s is equivalent to the integral from 0 to infinity ng ano? Ng t cube e raised to negative st. Okay? So, dt of course. Natin kalimutan. Okay? So, we have, again, no, just like with example number 2, we have two functions of t, that is t cube and e raised to negative st. So, we will proceed with IBP. Integration by parts. Okay? So, we have here d, I, okay? Positive, say negative, positive, negative, no? Something like that. Okay? So, of course, dito si t cube, kasi dito mapupunta sa e raised to negative st. Okay? So, we have your 3t squared. So, we have 60. Continuous derivative lang ginagawa ko dito, ha. So 6 and of course 0, no? So yung last natin dito is positive, no? Yan. Lumampas na tayo malapit sa dulo. Okay, so we have here negative 1 over s e raised to negative st. Okay, so multiply mo lang ulit yung numerical coefficient natin dito. Well, hindi siya numerical coefficient, but our coefficient, negative 1 over s. So negative 1 over s times negative 1 over s is simply 1 over s squared e raised to negative st. Then ganun ulit, so we have negative 1 over s cube e raised to negative st. Then we have negative 1 over s raised to, positive na to. Okay. Lipat natin to. Dito. Or dito. So we have here 0. This is our d. Okay. Then we have our I, that is positive 1 over s raised to 4 e raised to negative st. Okay. So yan yung ating di table. No? So we'll just multiply it diagonally. Okay. Ayan. So, we have, the integral is equivalent to, okay, so we have negative 1 over st cube e raised to negative st. Okay, then negative 1 over s squared, 3t squared e raised to negative st. Okay, then we have negative 1 over s cube. Okay, s squared to, so we have 6t e raised to negative st. I'm just multiplying diagonally, no? So including the signs, baka makalimutan ninyo. Ayan. Okay. So we have, asan ako? Minus, so ito, no? So negative 6 times 1 over s raised to 4 e raised to negative st. So that is 1 minus 1 over s raised to 4 6 e raised to negative st. Evaluated from 0 to infinity. So again, now since we have infinity and all the terms possess the kernel e raised to negative st, no, so that will just give us 0, no? So 0 lang yon. So we have here, this is equivalent to 0 minus, no? So since 0 is a substitute natin for the lower boundary, no, we have to take note anong terms yung mayroong t. Bakit? Kasi lahat ng terms na mayroong t na naka-multiply will just give us 0. Kasi di ba, any number or any quantity multiplied to 0 is just equivalent to 0. So this is 0, this is 0, this is 0, this is not 0. Bakit? Wala naman kasi naka-multiply na t. No, ano lang nga meron? 1 over s raised to 4, 6 e raised to negative st. Nasaan yung t? Nasa exponent lang. Wala naman dito sa gitna. No, or wala dun sa pinaka-baseline natin. No, so you can just simply say this is all these three, yung mga straight lines natin is just equivalent to 0. Then we have minus 1 over s raised to 4, 6 e raised to negative s times 0. Okay? Ganun lang. Then we have here e raised to negative s times 0 or simply e raised to 0, that's equivalent to 1. Okay? So simplifying, we have here our f of s is equivalent to negative of negative 1 over s raised to 4 times 6. Or simply, cancel. So therefore, f of s is equivalent to 6 over s raised to 4. Okay? So, this is our answer. Okay? So, sir, is there a shortcut for the cancellations sa DI method? No? So, wala po. No? You really need to construct the table. Baka mamaya kasi shortcutin ninyo. Hindi, mag-infinity lang yan. Mag-zero lang yan since infinity naman yung boundary. No, that's not the case. You really need to create the table just to be sure na talagang mag-zero yung buong term. No? Kapag kasi na-substitute natin yung infinity sa ating variables na t. No? So, ayan. Okay? So, game. Next. So, ito naman, no? So, we are asked to find for the Laplace transform of f of t is equal to t raised to n, where n is an element of the real number system. So, meaning, n will take any number in the real number system. No, basta whole number. Okay, so, game. Let's try to solve this one. So, we have here... Excuse me. Ayan. So, let's get the Laplace transform. So, we have here f of s is equivalent to the integral from 0 to infinity. Ayan. Of t raised to n, e raised to negative st dt. So, again, we have two functions of t. No? So, we will proceed with IBT. Okay, so yun natin dito. This is D, this is I. So, alternating signs. Ayan. So, game, we have t raised to n. Okay, so we have e raised to negative st. Okay, so let's first get the derivative of t raised to n. No? So, we have here the derivative of t raised to n, chain rule lang yan. So, that is n times t raised to n minus 1. Okay, then another derivative, no? So we have here n times n minus 1, t raised to n minus 2, kasi di ba magma-minus ka lang na magma-minus. Then we have n times n minus 1 times n minus 2. Okay, t raised to n minus 3. So on and so forth. Up until saan tayo titigil? No, so we have here n times n minus 1 times n minus 2. N minus 2, so on and so forth, t raised to n minus n. No, kasi pag nag-n minus n na yan, 0 na yung exponent natin, t raised to 0 is just simply, what? 1. No, so meaning, ito na lang yung may iwan, yung ating n times n minus 1 times n minus 2, so on and so forth. And if we are going to get the derivative of this will just give us 0, since all of these are constants. Diba? So, these are all treated as constants. Remember, n is a constant in this case. No? So, yun. Next, we have our I. Usog natin si I kasi nasakop na ni T. I'm sorry. Yan, dito natin lagay. So, we have here negative 1 over s e raised to negative st. So, we have here 1 over s squared e raised to negative st. Tuloy-tuloy lang yon, no? So, up until kailan tayo titigil, no? So, kapag ka na-reach natin is yung ating n, 1 over s so, up until ayan, ito din up until to, ha? Ayan. So, we have 1 over s raised to n, okay, e raised to negative st, but we're not going to stop here. Bakit? Ano ba ang katapat nito? Ito pa lang. Diba? Ito pa lang ang katapat niyan. Saan tayo titigil? Doon sa susunod, yung 0. Diba? So, ano yung susunod dito? So, we have, after this one, so we have 1 over s raised to n plus 1. No, kasi remember, adding tayo ng ating nag-a-add lang tayo ng ating exponent, 'di ba? From 1 to 2, tapos susunod diyan is 3. So plus 1 lang tayo. E raised to negative st. Okay, so applying the method, so ayan. So just to signify na minumultiply natin yung sign, no? So pa-diagonal. Ayan. So yung susunod, no, etong ating n times n minus 1, n minus 2, ang pagmumultiplyan niyan is eto na. no? Yung 1 over s raised to n plus 1 e raised to negative st. Okay, so adding all of this, no? So bunot ako ng new page, wait lang. Ayan. Okay, so we have here the integral f of s, or f of s is equivalent to, we have excuse me, negative 1 over s, negative 1 over s e, or t raised to n e raised to negative st, minus 1 over s squared, okay, n times t raised to n minus 1 e raised to negative st, minus 1 over s cubed, n times n minus 1 t raised to n minus 2 e raised to negative st. So minus up until, no, saan tayo titigil? Dun sa kanina, no? So yung 1 over s raised to n plus 1, n times n minus 1, n minus 2. Okay? So tuloy-tuloy lang yon, no, kung ano man yung magiging stop. Okay? So times e raised to negative st. Okay? So evaluated again from 0 to infinity. So sige nga, I want you to focus on this specific part. So sa n times n minus 1 times n minus 2, ano kaya yung resemblance nito? Ano yung kaparehas niya na concept back in your algebra days? Sige nga, I'll give you a few seconds. You can pause this video. So, can you remember, guys, what does an n factorial is, or what is an n factorial, no? So di ba this is equivalent to n times n minus 1 times n minus 2 up until mag 1, di ba, yung pinakauli. So for example, 5 factorial, di ba, what's the equivalent 5 factorial? 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1, di ba, that's the equivalent of 5 factorial. Yun yung parang representation nito nung n times n minus 1 times n minus 2. So we can just simply write this. Burahin ko to. Ayan. So this one, guys, no, is actually just equivalent to n factorial. Huwag natin burahin. Lagyan na lang natin ng n factorial. Okay, so meaning yung last term natin is minus 1 over s raised to n plus 1 times n factorial e raised to negative st. Okay, so game, let us substitute now our boundaries. Since we are again dealing with infinity and lahat ng terms natin ay merong kernel na e raised to negative st, so everything will just be, equivalent to 0. Okay, yun sa first boundary natin. Then minus, okay, yung lower boundary naman na substitute natin. So lahat na meron naka-multiply na t, regardless kung ano yung exponent ng t, will just yield to 0. Diba? Negative 1 over s times 0 raised to n e raised to negative st is 0. Ganun din dito. Diba? Kasi meron kang t. Meron kang t. No? So therefore, lahat ng terms na yan, yung preceding terms before the last term is just equivalent to 0. Okay? Then minus, okay, minus, so we have here negative 1 over s raised to n plus 1 multiplied to n factorial e raised to negative s times 0. No? Sir, pagkahaba-haba nung ginawa mong integration by parts, dyan lang pupunta. Yes, no, ganun talaga. No? So, magsisimplify lang kasi siya. Since these are our boundaries. No? So, e raised to negative s times 0 is just simply 1. So, therefore, no, so we have here f of s is equivalent to 0 minus, so, or rather negative of negative. So, we have negative times 0. So, kahit di mo nasulat yan, negative n factorial over s raised to n plus 1. Okay, so cancel. So therefore, the Laplace transform of t raised to n is equivalent to n factorial over s raised to n plus 1. Ayan. Okay? So, yun, no? So, that's our Laplace transform for t raised to n, no? Ayan. Okay, so let's have here our next example. Sabi dito, no, we're asked to find what is the Laplace transform of e raised to at where a is a constant. No, so we have here f of t is equal to e raised to at. So let's get the Laplace transform. So we have here f of s is equivalent to the integral from 0 to infinity of e raised to at times e raised to negative st dt. Okay? So, ano mapapansin ninyo sa integral natin? This is not the same as before na, ha? Hindi na to, medyo iba na yung solution natin dito. So, we have two exponential functions, no? So, this, let's say, no, we have a raised to m, yun yung una natin, multiplied to a raised to n. Diba? Going back to your exponent rules, no, in algebra. Diba, if you have the same base but different exponents operated by multiplication, this is equivalent to a raised to m plus 1, m plus n. No? So, ganun din dito. So, this integral, it will just be equivalent to the integral from 0 to infinity ng e raised to at plus negative st or simply minus st dt. Okay? So, ganun natin sinisimplify yan. Then, since common si t, pwede natin i-factor out. So, we have here the integral from 0 to infinity of e raised to t times a minus s dt. Okay, so let's do u substitution in this case. So we have u is equal to t times a minus s. So du is equivalent to, so that is a minus s are constants, no? So we have dt. So since dt lang yung kailangan natin, divide both sides by a over s. So we have here, or a minus s rather. So we have here dt is equivalent to 1 over a minus s du. So, yan yung ipapalit natin ngayon sa ating integral. So, burahin ko to. So, we have here the integral from 0 to infinity ng alin? 1 over a minus s eu du. Okay, so since nasa eu du na tayo, pwede na natin ilabas si 1 over a minus s. Diba? So, this is equivalent to 1 over a minus s. Okay, e, what's our u? That is t raised to a minus s. Sorry, wala nang dt. Okay, evaluated from 0 to infinity. Okay, so, substituting, we have here 1 over a minus s multiplied to e raised to infinity times a minus s minus e raised to 0 times a minus s. Okay, so, dito sa second term, wala tayong problema. This is just equivalent to 1. Tama? This is just equivalent to 1. How about this one? If we have a raised to negative infinity, again, this is equivalent to 0. Tama? This is equivalent to 0. Eh, paano si a raised to infinity? Ano equivalent yan? Diba? So, rather e, not a. No? Where we have a specific value of the base pala. Sorry. Ayan. E raised to infinity. Diba, remember, this is equivalent to infinity. However, we do not want an infinite answer kasi that would be divergent. No, divergent siya in our Laplace transform. We need a concrete answer that will just be convergent to one value. So instead, we need to make our e raised to infinity a e raised to negative infinity. Paano natin gagawin yon? Remember, you have negative here kay s. Diba? May negative 1 tayo na exponent ni s. We can factor that one out so that we will have, okay, wait lang. Okay, so that we will have f of s, okay, is equivalent to 1 over a minus s. Okay, so we have e raised to negative infinity. Then, pagbabalik ta rin nyo lang yung from a minus s, magiging s minus a na siya. Kasi finactor out na natin yung negative 1. Diba? Remember, if we will going to multiply this to negative 1, babalik lang tayo dito sa ating original function. Okay, so we have here s minus a. Ayan. Then minus 1. Okay, kasi diba yun yung nakuha natin kanina? Now, we have now here e raised to negative infinity, so this is equivalent to 0. Kahit pa i-multiply natin tong s minus a kay infinity, which will just give us infinity, but we have negative infinity, no? So that will be equivalent to 0. Okay, so we have here now f of s is equivalent to negative 1 over a minus s, or we can distribute negative from the numerator to our denominator so that wala tayong unnecessary signs. No? So therefore, we have f of s, the Laplace transform of e raised to at is just simply 1 over s minus a. Since dinistribute na natin yung negative sign dito sa denominator. Okay, so this is our Laplace transform. Okay? So, lahat ng tinuro ko kanina are just derivations, no? Instead, I will introduce to you the table of Laplace transforms. Okay, so you do not really need actually to go through the tedious process of integration, no? So you just need to master the table and you're good to go. Okay, so paano ba natin ginagamit yung table? If your given conforms to this f of t, no, yung mga format natin ng ating f of t, you can go directly to their correspondence. Now, for example, we have here 1. F of t is equal to 1. What's the Laplace transform of 1? 1 over s. Now, balik tayo dun sa mga kinumpute natin. Ito, di ba? The Laplace transform of 1 is 1 over s. Di ba? So, yun, no? So, we just, what we did is just to verify the accuracy of the table, no? So, we have your t that is equivalent to 1 over s squared, t raised to n, yung kinumpit natin na mahaba, that is n factorial over s raised to n plus 1. And we have e raised to at, which is equivalent to 1 over s minus a. Then, here are other fundamental Laplace transforms that you need to know, no, in evaluating differential equations using Laplace transform, no? So, ito yung mga kailangan ninyo malaman. So, ayan. Okay? So, just need to check the formula, then you're good to go. Okay? Now, let's talk about the inverse Laplace transform. Of course, yes, di ba, na-translate na natin from our real domain to the complex frequency domain. Pero we cannot actually compute real values in the complex frequency domain. Bakit? Kasi they do not match. Diba? You cannot solve something real on the imaginary plane. Diba? Remember, complex frequency are imaginary numbers. Diba? S is equal to sigma plus j omega. Diba? J signifies here an imaginary number which is equivalent to negative 1. So, you're in the complex plane. Diba? So, hindi tayo pwede mag-apply ng regular operations in the complex frequency, in the complex plane rather, sorry. No, so instead, no, so we need to transform the answer after we simplify using Laplace transform back to the real world using, or back in the real domain using the inverse Laplace transform. Okay, so from f of s, kung kanina is from f of t to f of s, ito naman, from f of s going to f of t. Okay? So, here is the notation, no? Laplace transform na meron lang raised to negative 1. That signifies inverse. Okay? So, yan. F of s going to f of t. So, the formula is the closed loop integral of f of s multiplied to e raised to st ds. Evaluated from sigma minus j times infinity up to sigma plus j times infinity. No, so of course, no, we are not going to use this formula anymore kasi it would be very troublesome to compute for the inverse Laplace using this method. So instead, you're going to go back to our what? To our table. So kung si Laplace transform is f of t going to f of s, kay inverse naman is from f of s going to f of t. No, so hindi mo lang pwede kabisaduhin yung f of t lang but also the f of s. No, yung ano yung form ng f of s natin. Okay, kasi in the inverse Laplace transform, we are going to manipulate the given algebraically to conform in the given format of the f of s in here in our Laplace transform table. Okay, so Sample, we have here, find the inverse Laplace transform of f of s is equal to 1 over s plus 3. No, so, ano yung medyo malapit dito kay 1 over s plus 3? Ano kaya yung malapit? Diba this can be rewritten in the form of 1 over, 1 over s minus a. And what is the inverse Laplace transform of 1 over s minus a? Diba that's equivalent to e raised to negative, negative tuloy, e raised to at. Diba? So, this one, our given, can actually be rewritten in this form, no? In 1 over s minus a, s minus negative 3. Kasi remember, negative times negative is positive. No? So, therefore, what's the value of a? We have negative 3. Diba? So, we have your f of s. Let's get the inverse Laplace transform. Okay? So, therefore, we have f of t is equivalent to e raised to negative 3t. And this is the answer. Okay? So, this is the answer, no? Kapag, tawag dito, this is the answer, no, from our given. F of s is equal to 1 over s plus 3. No, so that's how we do, no? So we just need to manipulate the given to conform in the table. Then kapag meron na siyang kamatch dun sa table, you can proceed with the Laplace transform or the inverse Laplace transform. Okay? Another one. So we have here f of s is equal to s over s squared plus 16. So we have s over s squared plus 16. This is our f of s. So, saan kaya siya parang nalalapit? Actually, may form na to, no? So, remember, we have s over s squared plus a squared. Meron tayong ganitong f of s. And what's the inverse Laplace transform of this one? Diba, this is equivalent to cos 80, the cosine of 80. Okay, so, what's the value of a? Diba, remember, s squared plus a squared. So, meaning 16 is equal to a squared. So, therefore, a is equal to 4. Diba? The square root. Diba? Kunin natin square root. So, we have a is equal to 4. So, therefore, we can proceed with the inverse Laplace transform. So, we have your f of s is equivalent to s over s squared plus 4 squared. So, let's get the inverse Laplace transform. So, therefore, we have f of t is equivalent to what? Now, that is cosine 4t. Simple as that, di ba? No, so, wala nang integral, no? Diretso lang tayo sa table, then manipulate lang, no? Ayan. Okay? So, last part of the discussion, let me introduce to you the concept of linearity property ng Laplace transform. No, so, to simply say, no, the Laplace transform is distributive. It can be distributed to the different terms of an equation or an expression. Okay? And yung mga constants natin dun sa ating function, lumalabas lang from the Laplace operator. No? So, yun yung ibig sabihin na tong homogeneous and additive. Okay? So, from this, this can be rewritten as the Laplace transform of af sub 1t plus the Laplace transform, okay, of bf sub 2t. Then, since a and b are constants, no? So, again, lalabas lang yon. So, we have a multiplied to the Laplace transform of f1t plus b multiplied to the Laplace transform of f2t. Hence, the answer here, no? So, a multiplied to f1 of s plus b f2 of s, no? f sub 2 of s pala. Ayan. Okay? So, ganun lang, no? So, let's try. So, we are asked to find for the Laplace transform of this given. So, obviously, yung ating t squared plus 2 quantity squared has no direct formula, no, in our table. So, that's the time that we're going to apply linearity property. No? So, we have here, let's do some binomial expansion. What's the expanded form of this binomial? Diba? That is t raised to 4 plus 4t squared plus 4. Diba? So, a plus b quantity squared. This is equivalent to a squared plus 2ab plus b squared. Diba? Yung equivalent niya. Hence, our answer. No? So, let's get the Laplace transform kasi nasa form naman na ng nasa table naman na yung mga terms natin. Okay, so we have your f of s. What's the Laplace transform of t raised to 4? Diba t raised to n to? T raised to n, the Laplace transform of t raised to n is n factorial over s raised to n plus 1. Diba? So we have 4 factorial over s raised to 4 plus 1 plus 4 times the Laplace transform of t squared, that is 2 factorial over s raised to 2 plus 1. Okay, then plus 4. Ano ang Laplace transform ng 4? 0 ba? Hindi. Diba? Remember, we have the Laplace transform of 1, that is 1 over s. Diba? So, since ano ba ang factors ni 4? 2 times 2 at saka 4 times 1. Diba? So, we have 1, no? We have an imaginary 1 here. Or rather, nakakuble, not imaginary, nakakuble na 1. No? So, we are going to have 4 times 1 over s. Okay? So, simplifying, we have 4 times 3 times 2 times 1, pero di ko na susulat. Okay, over s raised to 5 plus 4 times 2 times 1 over s cubed plus 4 over s. Ano ang common sa lahat? Di ba 4 over s? We can factor out 4 over s in this case. So therefore, we have f of s, the Laplace transform of the given is equivalent to 4 over s multiplied to 3 times 2 is 6. Okay, so factor out ako ng s kay s raised to 5, so that will give us s raised to 4 plus 6 over, or rather plus 2, not 6, kasi factored out na si 4 over s squared kasi nagtanggal tayo ng isang s kay s cube, then we have plus 1. Ayan, no? Yan yung ating answer. Okay? So, next, let's try another one. So, we have here f of t is equal to 2 e raised to 3t times cosine 3t. So, we have f of t 2e raised to negative 3t plus cosine 3t. So, let's get the Laplace transform. So, we have here f of s is equivalent to, so 2 times the Laplace transform of e raised to negative 3t is 1 over s plus 3. Diba? Yun yung kanyang Laplace transform. Plus, what's the Laplace transform of cos 3t? That is s over s squared plus 3 squared. Diba? So, simplifying, we have here 2 over s plus 3 plus s over s squared plus 9. So, no need to combine kasi unnecessary naman na. This will serve as our answer. Ayan. Okay? So, next, no? So, let's try naman some inverse Laplace transform, no? So, we have here, f of s is equal to s raised to 5 minus 4s cubed plus 16s squared plus 48 all over s raised to 6, no? So, obviously, wala tayong ganitong formula in our table, so we need to do something with the given. Ano pwede natin gawin? So, guys, ang technique sa inverse Laplace transform, pag nakita ninyong operated by plus or minus yung numerator, automatic split nyo na. Na-split nyo na into individual fractions. So, we have here f of s. Split ko na ha. S raised to 5 over s raised to 6. Minus 4 times s cubed over s raised to 6. Plus 16 s squared over s raised to 6. Plus 48 times 1 over s raised to 6. Okay? So, dito, magsisimplify na kayo. No? So, you can perform algebraic simplification in this case. Tulad nito. So, 1 over s may e1. Dito naman, s cubed, no? 1 over s cubed. Tapos dito, 1 over s raised to 4. Sa baba, sa dulo, wala na, of course. No? So, wala namang s sa taas eh. Okay, so rewriting, we have here f of s is equivalent to 1 over s minus 4 times 1 over s cubed plus 16 times 1 over s raised to 4 plus 48 times 1 over s raised to 6. Okay, yung 1 over s, the inverse Laplace transform of this is 1. So, wala na tayong problema dyan. Pero paano yung iba? No, ano yung mga malalapit? No? So, we have your s cubed, s to the 4th, and s raised to 6. Remember, di ba, the Laplace transform of t raised to n is equivalent to n factorial over s raised to n plus 1. So, our denominators can be rewritten in the form of s raised to n plus 1. Di ba? So, rewrite lang natin 1 over s minus 4 times 1 over s raised to 2 plus 1, that's equivalent to 3, plus 16 times 1 over s raised to 3 plus 1, diba? That's s raised to 4. Tapos ito naman, 48, 1 over s raised to 5 plus 1. No, nakuha na natin yung denominator. Nasa form na nung Laplace transform natin. Paano yung numerator? Yung n factorial. So, you need to determine what is n. What is n? Of course, yung hindi 1. No? Dun sa exponent ng denominator, that is our n. And for us to have n factorial sa taas, we can multiply each term with n factorial over n factorial. Diba? Tapos yung n factorial sa denominator, ilalagay natin ngayon dun sa kanyang coefficient sa unahan. Okay? So, paano natin gagawin yon? So, we have your 1 over s minus 4 times 2 factorial over 2 factorial times 1 over s raised to 2 plus 1. So, eto na ngayon yung kukunin nating Laplace transform. Okay? Or simply, we can rewrite. Sige, wag muna natin rewrite para at least makita ninyo. Plus 16 times 3 factorial over 3 factorial 1 over s raised to 3 plus 1. Then we have 48 times 5 factorial over 5 factorial times 1 over s raised to 5 plus 1. Okay, so ilalagay na natin sa loob yung mga factorial sa numerator. No? So, ayan. Okay, so we have here f of s is equivalent to 1 over s minus 4 over 2 factorial or simply 2, di ba? Okay, simply 2 times 2 factorial over s raised to 2 plus 1. Okay, minus or rather plus na ba? Plus 16 over 3 factorial times 3 factorial over s raised to 3 plus 1. Okay, plus that is 48 over what? 5 factorial ba? Yes, 5 factorial. So, you have 5 factorial times 5 factorial over s raised to 5 plus 1. So, ngayon, lahat ng ating terms are already in the form of our inverse Laplace. No? So, pwede na natin siya inverse Laplace. Okay, so we have here f of t. The inverse Laplace transform of 1 over s is 1. So, lagyan nyo ng check pag tapos na kayo, no? Para at least alam niyo kung nasa na kayo. Minus 4 over 2, that's equivalent to 2. Okay, the inverse Laplace of this one is t raised to 2. Diba? T raised to n or t raised to 2. 2t squared. Okay na to. No? Lagyan nyo na guhit pala kahit hindi check. Okay na. Okay na to. Next, to naman tayo. So, we have 16 over 3 factorial or 16 over 6. That's equivalent to 8 over 3. Tama? 8 over 3 tayo dito. Okay, so we have t raised to 3. Then plus 48 over 5 factorial, that is 120. So, that is 2 over 5. Okay, t raised to 5. So, pwede natin ito i-simplify, no? Para ba natin simplify ito? Gawin natin common lahat ng denominator. So, we have here 1 over 15 multiplied to 15 minus 30t squared, okay, plus 40t cubed, plus 6t to the 5th. So, pagka dinistribute natin, 1, 2, 40 divided by 15 is 8 over 3. Yes. So, 6 over 15 is 2 over 5. So, this is the Laplace transform or the inverse Laplace transform of our given. Ayan. Okay? Or actually, this may do. No, ito actually, pwede naman na to. No, check na yan. Na yun nasa taas. Pero, just to eliminate the too much, ang tawag dito, denominators, no? So, kaya, ginawa ko na lang common lahat ng denominator. Okay? So, pero that's okay, no? Yung taas. Kung yung nasa choices, kung multiple choices yung question, yung exam nyo, that's okay. Then, we have here our last number, no? So, ito mas mabilis kumpara dun sa una. No? So, again, yung ating numerator ay operated by plus or minus. So, we can split this one. So, f of s is equal to 3s over s squared plus 25. So, plus 1 over s squared plus 25. So, obviously, in denominator, 25 is a perfect square. So, that is 5 squared, di ba? So, we can rewrite this as 3 times s over s squared plus 5 squared plus 1 over s squared plus 5 squared. So, dito sa first term, okay na tayo. Kasi diba, the Laplace transform of cos AT is s over s squared plus a squared. However, yung second term wala pa. Bakit? Saan to pinakamalapit? Kay sin. However, si sin kasi, ang Laplace transform ni sin AT, okay, is equivalent to a over s squared plus a squared. So, kulang tayo ng a dito sa numerator, no? Paano natin gagawin yon? Magmo-multiply tayo ng 5 over 5 dito sa second term. Hindi mo na idadamay yung first term. Baka mamaya idamay mo yung first term, no? No need. Kasi multiplication naman to. No? So, para ito yung kukunin mong Laplace, or rather, inverse Laplace transform. Okay? So, rewriting 3 times s over s squared plus 5 squared. Okay? Plus 1 over 5, yun yung naiwan na 5, okay? Times 5 over s squared plus 5 squared. Okay, so now, we can get the inverse Laplace transform. Okay, so for the inverse Laplace transform, f of t is equivalent to 3 cos 5t. Okay, plus 1 over 5 sine 5t. Or simply, no, if we're going to make them common denominator, so we have f of t is equivalent to 1 over 5 times 15 cos 5t plus sine 5t. Ayan. So, this is our answer. Nasensya na, lumiit na. Masyado malaki yung sulat ko kanina. Ayan. Okay? So, that's it. Thank you for listening, guys. No? So, it's the end of the lecture. Thank you for listening, guys. Have a wonderful day. And next topic, we will now be solving the differential equations using Laplace transform.